Time now on the Business Breakfast is 22 minutes past 8, and we are talking technology. We've had a bit of a chat to the guys at Magnet over the past 24 hours about a new report that they put out saying that we are seeing quite a lot of investment activity in the startup space, more in the second half of the year than the first half of the year. Sorry, more in the first half of the year than the second half of the year. Deals that were already booked in 2019 coming to fruition in 2020. One that might have just bucked the trend for that is the regional open banking platform Terabit Gateway. They've just raised $13 million in seed funding. Very pleased to be joined now by Abdulla Almoayed, who's the CEO and founder of Terabit Gateway. Abdulla, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me, Brandy.
Do you want to start by giving us the elevator pitch? When we're talking about open banking, Abdulla, what are we actually speaking about?
I think it's quite simply giving people control of their data back again. I mean, our kind of statement is, if data is the new oil, then we're building the MENA region's modern pipeline. So think of us as the infrastructure that allows you control over your data, but also allows for its mobility from one point to another. As you can imagine, banks have a lot of data that they're sitting on. They know where you shop, what kind of trends, what kind of spending trends you have. So the idea is, how do we capitalize on that and create what we call personalized financial services, right? So give Brandy the kind of credit cards that she needs, the kind of mortgages that she needs, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all. So that's what we do.
How do you do that any differently from what the banks themselves do it? Because trust me, Abdulla, I get no shortage of phone call offering me those products.
Well, it's very different in a sense that, number one, the banks call you and give you generic products. What open banking enables is, number one, your ability to aggregate all these various data points, right? So let's say you have a credit card from an issuer, a saving account with another, the ability to be able to aggregate it and really enrich that data. The way we see it is, today you log into your YouTube account and the first thing that pops up is the kind of videos that you'd like to watch. The same with everything else. You log into your Amazon account and it's the kind of chocolates or the kind of books that you like to read. But banking is very much a one-size-fits-all, and that's what we aim to change.
So let's look at the money. Abdulla, you've raised $13 million in seed funding. Where's that money come from?
It comes from a few partners. It was very important to us to choose the right partners. We haven't previously opened up for funding despite being in operation for the last 3 years. It comes from, the round is led by Target Global, a Berlin-based, one of the leading FinTech investors out there. It was important to us to really create a cap table of investors that can really leverage the global expansion, leverage their expertise in the field, and enable us for the next rounds and to continue growing.
Okay, well, you say you're going to use the money to expand across the 3 T's. Let's go through them. Talent. What do you need? And more importantly, can you find it here in the UAE?
Well, you can definitely find it in the UAE. It's a question of whether you can scale it in the region or not, and that's where it gets really interesting. Talent is available. These are new technologies that we're adopting. We are the largest in the region at the moment, and we're pushing very aggressively to scale up our operations. I think there's great talent out in Dubai, but again, it's about building the right environment, building the right culture, and scaling up the team.
Technology, what comes next?
Scale. We have high ambitions. We want to basically go global, if not regional. We already have operations across the MENA region. Technology is an interesting one as we look to adopt and basically deploy in different jurisdictions. Saudi Arabia just announced the open banking regulations, which we're super excited about. But Saudi has its own regulations as far as data is concerned. The UAE, again, the different regulations. So we need to build a very scalable cloud-agnostic technology that allows us to deploy in these various jurisdictions, which is what requires an amazing skill set of architects and solution developers that allow us to do that.
Do you have all the regulations and the policy that you need here? Is the legislation keeping up?
Well, legislation will never keep up with technology globally, right? Legislation will always follow suit. For as long as you're at the kind of cusp of technology and innovation, which we are at TG, We've been working with regulators across the region. Don't forget, we are the first company to get licensed in the Middle East and North Africa to do what we do. So we're always continuously consulting. I think UAE Central Bank has embraced us. We've had many conversations with them. The same with DIFC, ADGM, Saudi Arabia. So if you're ahead of the regulation, which we are, it's always going to be a back and forth for them to basically put the right frameworks to enable as opposed to kind of operate. And that's where the role of regulators are moving towards in these fast adopting innovative technologies.
Well, we spoke to Phil Bahoshi from Magnet yesterday. They just released their 2020 report on institutional investment into startups, where it was going, how it was going. They found a very big difference between the first half of the year and the second half of the year. The majority of the deals were in the first half of the year because a lot of them had actually been structured and put together in 2019 and in the first quarter, so pre-COVID. How long has your deal been in the pipeline?
Well, we've been very selective in who we wanted to bring on board. So we were in negotiations with Target Global. We picked them. We wanted to work with Target Global to lead our round. I was never in the market for someone to lead our round. And here it was very interesting. But it's a testament that global investors are starting to look at the region. They find it very exciting. There's a lot of opportunity when it comes to technology. So it really depends on the sector. I must say that we've been lucky and blessed to have, number one, built a great product, but number two, to be in a sector that is a top priority to every single venture fund globally. I mean, FinTech is probably the hottest tech sector out there right now. And we just so happen to build the best product out there in our field.
Is it harder to raise money at the moment, though, Abdulla? Do you have to work harder for it?
I actually find it easier, and I'll tell you why. Because you sit behind your computer screen and you're speaking to VCs all over the world, whereas 8 months ago, 9 months ago, you would be on a flight or have to wait 2 weeks for people to fly in, because these kind of deals are happening virtually right now. And a lot of our investors that have come on board, we have had 95% of our meetings and sessions all virtually, which is great.
What about the time it takes, though, to put a deal together at the moment? I've got about 30 seconds left with you. Is there a change in the time frame?
I think it all depends on the deal. It all depends on the deal and the operations and with the documentation. If everything is crystal clear, it shouldn't take time. It depends on the investors. I would say go to well-recognized investors for people to jump in and have their systems and frameworks in place that will just execute.
Abdulla Almoayed, who is the CEO and founder of Terabit Gateway. That is the open banking platform with an office not just in Dubai, actually, but in Abu Dhabi as well, that has just raised $13 million in seed funding.